So let's read the story for today entitled How Far I'll Go. A family went on a trip. They traveled for 2 hours and reached 120 kilometers away from their home. If they will travel for 5 hours, how far away from their home will they be? So in this kind of problem, as you can see, the longer the car travels, the farther the distance. So that's our new topic, which is a part or a kind of a proportion which is called direct proportion, wherein when an increase in one quantity causes the increase of the other quantity. It is when a decrease in one quantity causes the decrease of the other quantity. Now, the relationship of this direct proportion is still the same as finding the missing term in the proportion, that the product of the extremes and the product of the means are equal. So you need to multiply the extremes and it's equal to the product of the means. Now, just like in example here, the faster the speed, the greater the distance covered. So let's answer the story problem. So if you traveled for 2 hours, it reaches 120 kilometers. So if you travel for 5 hours, of course, it will reach farther than 120 kilometers. Then that's an example of direct proportion. But how are we going to know how far did the family travel? So using the proportion, using the direct proportion, all you have to do is to write it in a column form. We have 2 hours, this is for the hour, is to 120 kilometer, this is the distance covered. Then if they will travel for 5 hours, so another hour here, and the missing here is how far did they travel. So this is the value. To find for the value of n, all you have to do is to multiply the means and then the extremes. Okay, so we have 2 times n, it's 2n, and then 120 times 5, that is 600. Okay, so equate the two equation. We have 2n is equals to 600. To find for the value of n, you need to divide both sides of the equation by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, which is 1n. Then 600 divided by 2 is 300. Therefore, the missing term is 300. If you want to check if the answer is correct, make sure that the product of the means and the extremes are equal. So we have 2 times 300, which is the value of n, that's 600, and then 120 times 5 is equals to 600, so they are equal. Therefore, how far away from their home will they be? They are 300 kilometers away from their home. So if they travel for 2 hours, they reaches 120 kilometers, but if they travel for 5 hours, it reaches 300 kilometers. So that's an example of direct proportion. If you're still confused, you can write it in a table form. So we have here, let's make it a table here. We have for the hour and we have for the kilometers. So we have for the first they reaches 2 hours and they reaches 120 kilometers. And if they will travel for 5 hours, how many kilometers they travel? So as you can see here, it's just the same as here, but this time it is labeled properly. So we have 2 is to 120, 5 is to n. So you can multiply it like this. So we have 120 is to 2 is to 120. You can write it in this form. 120 is to 120 is equals to 5 is to n. So it's same direction. We have 2 is to 120 is equals to 5 is to n. Okay, so when you write it in a table, you can also use it like this. If you want to start with the kilometers, so you can write 120 is to 2, and then you start from here also, n is equals to 5. The answer will still be the same. So if you want to write it from kilometers, so 120 is to 2 is equals to, going to the left, same direction, n is to 5. Still the same, you still multiply 120 times 5 and then 2 and 2 is 2 and 10 and so the answer will still be the same. Let's have more example. How many liters of gasoline would a car use on a trip of 144 kilometers if it uses 20 liters on a trip of 48 kilometers? So using a table, as I've mentioned earlier, here we write here the unit, which is the liters of gasoline used and the distance covered. So if they will travel for 48 kilometers, that's 48, then they uses 20 liters. Now the question is, if they travel for 144 kilometers, how many liters of gasoline would the car use? So this is the missing term. Because if it is 20 liters, they travel for 48 kilometers. And if it's 144 kilometers, how many liters? So if you're going to write it in a column form, all you have to do is to write it in one direction going here. We have, hold on, there, 20 is to 48 is equals to, going there, same direction, and is equals to 144, so that you will not get confused on where is the liters and where is the kilometers. So you make a table for the liters, for the kilometers, or whatever is the given, and it's already in column form, so you follow the step, which is multiply the product of the means and the extreme, then equate the two equations. So this is 48n, then you multiply 144 times 20. So we have 0, 8, 8, 2. So this is 2,880. Equate the two equation, 48n is equals to 2,880. Divide it with both sides with 48. N is equals to 2,880 divided by 48. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, 5 only. We have 40, carry 4, 24. We have 8, this is 6. So if you're going to divide by 6, 6 times 8 is 48. And then 6 times 4 is 24 plus 4, 28. Okay, so it is 6, not 5. So 288 minus 288, there's no remainder, 0, but there is still another 0 that you need to divide, you need to bring down and divide, and then therefore the answer is 60. So the value of N, how many liters, the question is how many liters of gasoline, then the answer is 60 liters. Make it in a complete answer. So the missing N here is 60. You may want to check if the answer is correct by multiplying 48 times 60. It should be 2,880. 0, 48, carry 4, 2,880. So it's the same. It's okay. So of course, if it is a shorter distance, less amount of gas it uses. And if it is a longer distance, it's more amount of gas it uses. It's an example of a direct proportion. Next, a carpenter receives 680 pesos for 8 hours of work. How much should he receive for 6 hours of work at the same rate? So if a carpenter receives 680 for 8 hours, how much should he receive for 6 hours? So basically, if it is only 6 hours, the amount that he receives would be smaller than 680 because he only works for 6 hours. So again, so that you will not get confused, you make a table. And this table is for the hours and also for the amount he receives. So we have, this is for the hours. If it is 8 hours, he receives 680. And if it is 6 hours, how much will he receive? So this is now our missing term. Now, to make it in a column form, or in a proportion form, so we have 8 is to 680. 680 is equals to, going to the same direction, 6 is equals to n. Then this is now our two ratios. You multiply 680 times 6, then 8 times n. We have 8n, and then 680 times 6, 0, 48, carry 4, 36, 40. So we have 4,080. Now you can now divide 4,080, divide 8, divide 8. So 4,080 divide 8, that is 5, that is 40, 8, that is 1, 8. There's another 0, so you put it here. The answer is 510. So how much should he receive for 6 hours? He will only receive 510 pesos for 6 hours. That is the answer. Next, so again, if you work overtime, you will receive greater amount of salary, right? Now next, Sarah uses 14 bananas to bake 3 loaves of banana bread. How many loaves of bread can she make if she uses 42 bananas? So that you will not get confused of what is the missing and how to write it in a column form, do not forget to write in a table. So let's check the unit. So this is for the bananas. And then how many loaves? So how many loaves? So 14 bananas to bake 3 loaves of bread. The question is how many loaves of bread? So therefore here is the missing now. And then if she will uses 42 bananas. So it's still the same in one direction. You can write it in a column form. We have 14 is to 3 is equals to same direction. 42 is to n. So we have 42 times 3 and then 14 times n. 14n is equals to, that's 14n is equals to 42 times 3, 6, that is 12. So what? That is 126 divided by 14, divided by 14. The value of n is equals to, is it 9, 8? Okay, 9. Okay, so 36, 9, 12. Okay, so there's no more remainder. The answer is 9. So the question is how many loaves of bread Sarah can make? 9 loaves of bread if she will use 42 bananas. So if you have less ingredients, less amount of servings as well. If you use more ingredients, greater amount of servings you can make. So if it is 42 bananas, of course you can make more loaves of bread. If it's just only 14 bananas, then you can only make 3 loaves of bread. Okay, next. Regine is enlarging a photograph that is 8 centimeter wide and 12 centimeter long. The enlarged picture will be 12 centimeter wide. What will be its length? So Regine wants to enlarge a photo. So our table should be, this is the width and this is the length. And then for the width, it is 8 centimeters. And for the length is 12 centimeters. The question is, and the given is 12 centimeter wide, and the length is now the missing. Now, you can write it, the length is here, the width is here, as long as you put the proper label. So if this is if this is your length, then you put the 12 here. If this is your width, you put the 8 here. So, and then when you write it, make sure you write it in one direction only, which is 8 is to 12. Is equals to 12 is to n. So we have 12 times 12, that is 144. 8 times n is 8n. So 8n is equals to 144. N is equals to 144 is equals to 8. 8. So 144 is equals to 8, 1, 8. 64, 8. Okay, no more remainder. Then the answer is 18. So what will be its length? Its length is 18 centimeters. Because if it will enlarge the photograph, 12 centimeter as the width, and then 18 centimeter for the length. Now, again, if it is direct proportion, when one increases, the other one will also increase, and when the other one decreases, the other one will also decrease its quantity.